USA Central Command, the CENTCOM forces, has conducted dozens of precision airstrikes targeting known ISIS camps and operatives in central Syria. The strikes against the ISIS leaders, operatives and camps were conducted as part of the ongoing mission to disrupt, degrade and defeat the ISIS in order to prevent the terror group from conducting external operations. So that's the statement that has come in. The operation, we are told, so that they are not able to reconstitute in central Syria. Operation struck over 75 targets. I want to immediately bring in India Today's managing editor Gaurav Sawant for the latest on that. Gaurav, tell us more about what this US Central Command statement basically means, what their forces have done, and why is this significant at a time about what we are witnessing in Syria?
So Syria has witnessed a massive development in terms of a regime change. It's taken Iran even further. First the strikes on Hezbollah, then toppling the regime of Bashar al-Assad in Syria. And perhaps before Joe Biden leaves White House, will we see more, actions to weaken Iran? Remember, Israel has always called Iran as the fountainhead, one of terror and two of this octopus, which had targeted Israel constantly. And now you have Israeli forces that are operating on ground for the first time in over 6 decades. You have Israeli tanks inside southern part of Syria. That's point one. Point two, the US is carrying out bombing missions, and the US has now offered a reward of $10 million for any information or arrest of Syrian rebel leader Julani. Now, Julani, if you recall, is the leader of Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, or HTS. This is, of course, a former Al-Qaeda network. And the US says that Julani is a terrorist since 2013. Al-Qaeda, and he, of course, separated from Al-Qaeda initially. This reward is basically to ensure that the US is able to manage whatever new regime comes, because the disaster in US regime changes by and large has been that while they topple governments like Saddam Hussein's government or what Europe and NATO were able to do, remove Gaddafi from Libya, it's terrorist organizations that take over, and the countries in chaos and people suffer. While US and countries may control oil resources, but it's the common man that suffers, and this is what the effort is perhaps this time, to ensure that they're able to install a puppet regime after this regime change operation.
And perhaps a reminder of the kind of global politics that's involved sometimes in the toppling of such governments. Gaurav Sawant will be tracking the latest on that, because remember, it may appear to be a huge change and a development in terms of Assad's regime falling, but what's to come is also right now on tenterhooks. So here's the latest, what is happening in the Middle East right now. Assad regime has fallen in Syria. The rebel forces, as it is being called, have captured Damascus in a rapid offensive on Sunday, bringing an end to about 5 decades of what was being called as an iron rule by Assad's family regime. But moments after the ouster, here's what happened. As the rebels, as they call themselves, have taken control of the military base. It's also the Syria's broadcast station, as well as storming the presidential palace. These were historic scenes being witnessed. Issuing a statement on state television then, Syrian rebel group commander went on to say, I quote it here, "The future is ours and there is no room to turn back." India also has issued a statement, meanwhile, looking at all of this, saying Indian embassy in Damascus stays operational. All Indian nationals residing in Syria are safe for now. Global leaders, meanwhile, interestingly, especially of the West, praising Assad's downfall, calling it a victory for the Syrian people. Joe Biden, USA's incumbent president, said he will also hold a security review meeting to take stock of the situation.
In the last few hours.
Good day for the Middle East. The collapse of the Assad regime, the tyranny in Damascus, offers great opportunity, but also is fraught with significant dangers. This collapse is a direct result of our forceful action against Hezbollah and Iran, Assad's main supporters. It set off a chain reaction of all those who want to free themselves from this tyranny and its oppression.
Let me urge all Syrians to prioritize dialogue, unity, and respect for international humanitarian law and human rights as they seek to rebuild their society.